I want to go first. Just saying that thank you for everybody being here, and it's really basically our intention is just to want to make sure everything has been done correctly. There's no personal feelings or everything. So let's get on in the case. So first, bylaws 620.01 says that an administration building shall be defined as a place for students to vote, and any unusual form of campaigning shall be approved by the elections board. So it is correct that elections board approved this informal campaigning, having tables out there. But by establishing a computer there, that crosses the line, becoming sort of establishing alternative polling site, because as a definition, a building such as a school designed as a place for which voters during elections to cast their votes. So by having a table there, having flyers out, that's a form of campaigning which approved by elections board, which is fine. But by establishing a computer there, actually having students to vote there, that fits the definition to have a place for people to cast their votes. So that's where it crosses the line, which is a violation for having an unusual polling sites. It is an unusual campaigning. Everybody's campaigning out there, which is fine. But that's where when people actually can cast their votes there, that's actually in violation. Second is that I want to say is cell phones. It's true that students should be able to vote on their cell phones for all students, but that's for average students. But there should be a set of regulations for candidates. But for candidates, they can just pass out their cell phones to giving to our students. Oh, hey, can you vote for me and on this cell phone real quick? So I think there should be set of regulations, should be a set of regulation for candidates, for them not to. For normal students, it's okay, but I definitely feel it's not right to have candidates actually to utilize the cell phones, because due to their special nature for their position as candidates. Yeah.
For a moment, let's set aside the state elections codes and whether or not our judicial board can interpret those, although I would say that bylaw 650.03 does indicate that they should be able to look at those, because it does bind all candidates who obey the rules and regulations of Washington State University, the City of Vancouver, Clark County, and the State of Washington while campaigning. But setting that aside, can we just ask, did you or did you not accept votes at that computer?
Students were allowed to vote if they so desired, but they could also look at Facebook if they so desired.
Were students encouraged to vote? Did you ever say, hey, you can vote right here on this computer?
I said yes, and they could vote at an official polling site, but this was, as the sign stated, so students could read them, this was not an official polling site, merely a campaigning table.
Correct. It was a campaigning table at which you were accepting and, in some cases, encouraging students to vote at that table.
Okay.
Yes?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, that makes you an unofficial polling station by dictionary definition.
Polling station meaning what?
Let me refer to the definition within the dictionary. The polling site is defined as a building such as a school designated as the place to which voters go during an election to cast their votes. You had a table with a computer where students were encouraged to cast their votes, so it makes it a polling station.
So if someone has their cell phone and they're like, hey, you can vote on my phone, but they're not a candidate, did they not just create an official polling station, which means that they have to then be monitored by our student government? Are you not are you not curbing someone's First Amendment rights to express themselves and do as they please?
What we're curbing is candidates unethically influencing people.
They're
to
not the
vote
same.
for them.
They are not the same.
Okay, we're not talking about a smartphone here. That's a
A
stretch.
smartphone is a smaller version of a computer. Yeah.
But we're talking about a computer. We're not talking about a what if. We're talking about a fact that happened.
Okay.
Also, I would say that the statement that we have our own constitution and bylaws, and therefore we should not look at state laws, is a mistake to make that statement. We are beholden to our own laws, but above all, we're beholden to state laws and then federal laws above that. Just because you have your own laws doesn't mean you get to just not obey state laws. That's not how it works. And I would expect more for somebody who wants to run the student government. That's a scary thought.
As a public affairs major, I don't know, maybe this is just public affairs, but you're kind of taught that federal law often conflicts with state law. So in the same situation, you definitely have state institutions that sometimes conflict with the state law. It's a fact that there are some gray areas that these institutions kind of fill in with different types of law. So they do have types of conduct.
Okay, now we're going to enter the questioning period for the Judicial Board to speak to the respondent. I have a couple questions. First, you're defining this as an unusual form of campaigning. However, did you request Senate approval when they described what their idea was to you?
So, in, let me find it. Are you looking at bylaw 611.03?